You know, Harlem, New York City gave birth to Dr. Umar. On October the 30th of 2010 at the National Black Theater, I did my first lecture there in New York City, and in 48 hours, I was a household name. So thank you, New York City. We are here today on serious business, the business of supporting, of defending, and of standing with our brothers of the Sahel Alliance. We stand with Captain Ibrahim Traoré. We stand with General Goita. We stand with General Chiani. We stand with all independent African countries. 2 weeks ago, I was at the Oxford Union. I received an invitation to debate the father of Elon Musk, Elon Musk. And the topic of the debate was, does Africa still need her colonizers? That was the question. And I find it interesting that people believe Africa cannot govern herself when Africa was governing herself when Europeans were still crawling around inside the caves. So if we could govern ourselves before the white man came to Africa, why can't we govern ourselves after the white man left Africa? The truth of the matter, it's not that Africa needs Europe. Africa doesn't need France. Africa doesn't need the United States. Africa doesn't need Belgium. Africa doesn't need England. Africa needs the freedom to implement an African program. It is outside interference. It is outside interference. It is outside interference that keeps Africa from being the great and mighty continent it is. If the Sahel Alliance was allowed to do what was best for African people, it would be done already. If Ghana, if Nigeria, if Eritrea, if Botswana, if Lesotho, if Togo and Benin, if Angola and Namibia, if the African states were allowed to carry out their own agenda, we won't have a problem of 340 million Africans starving. We won't have a problem of food insecurity. Help me understand how Africans can be starving in Africa when Africa has enough agricultural land to feed the entire world, brothers and sisters. Africa can feed the entire world. So if Africa can feed the entire world, why do we have starvation on the African continent? I'll tell you why. Here in the United States, we have two parasite organizations. And when you go home tonight, Dr. Umar is giving you a homework assignment. I want you to look up the World Bank. And I want you to look up the International Monetary Fund, the IMF and the WB. Both of these institutions are headquartered in Washington, D.C. These institutions, their job is to go into Africa and sell false promises with high interest loans, and they bankrupt and sabotage the economies of independent African countries. And the weapon, as Thomas Sankara, that great son of Africa, said, the weapon, as Thomas Sankara said in 1987, the weapon is debt. They use debt as a rope they put around the necks of African heads of state to force them to do what America wants them to do, to force them to do what Britain and France and Holland wants them to do. The reason Africa must stop accepting loans from white parasite countries, the reason I'm so proud of Captain Ibrahim Traoré and his decision to stop taking loans and handouts from the West is these loans come with 3 requirements, brothers and sisters. I need you to understand this, because when you say why Africa been free for 60 and 70 years and still backwards, you need to know why.